If you have been researching how to make $10,000 a month as a student, or if you've just been researching how to make $10,000 a month at any age, I'm going to break down what I consider to be the 4 most essential principles in order to get you there. Most people are going to tell you that this is going to be pretty easy. All you need to do is create a funnel or build a website or just invest in a certain crypto coin. But what I'm going to tell you is that having flipped houses, owning rental properties, having brick and mortar businesses, $10,000 plus a month coaching business, making $10,000 a month is not easy. But with the right vision, strategy, and implementation, you can absolutely get there. Earlier this year, I actually posted a very popular video, the smartest route to $10,000 a month. And in that video, I break down step by step what you need to be doing in order to get there in the most reliable and consistent way. Be sure to watch that. I will leave a link below in the description box. It'll be that very first link. So this brings us to the very first point, is we have to identify the cash flow machine or vehicle that will get us there. Something that has a very high earning potential, but at the very same time, mitigates a lot of risk of capital loss. You remember, Warren Buffett's #1 rule of investing is don't lose money, and his second rule is refer to rule #1. There's a lot of great ways of making money out there, but in the beginning, most of them are not going to be right for you. For example, I flipped properties and have owned brick and mortar businesses like liquor stores. And while these are absolutely fantastic ways of making money, I would not start there. It requires a lot of upfront capital. And not only that, there's a pretty high risk of potentially losing money on a property flip or a business purchase. If you're considering things like day trading or swing trading or currency exchange and things like that, the likelihood of consistently making money off of your money is pretty slim if you're not exceptionally good at what you do. And that's because a lot of those games are rigged against you. The very best place to start is with a service-based business. This is a type of business that will allow you to have really high earning potential, but has almost no startup capital and very little chance of actually losing money. Now, there are 2 very vital components to creating a successful service-based business. The very first one being a high perceived value for other people. If we're going to get to $10,000 a month or more, we've got to find a service that people are willing to pay for. The higher the perceived value, the more someone's going to pay. Making $10,000 a month is about $2,500 a week. If you make $25 an hour, you have to work 100 hours a week, or a little over 14 hours a day, 7 days a week. But if we can identify a service that pays you $75 to $100 to $200 plus per hour, that will drastically reduce the amount of hours that you have to work and have a higher likelihood of scaling to that income and higher. The second important component is having a business with very high leverage, the ability to scale with other people. This would be like having a business where you clean people's houses, but instead of you cleaning the houses, you're going to hire some people to do the cleaning for you. You'll take a piece of the profit and you'll focus more on working on the business instead of working in the business. There are all kinds of businesses that you can start that could earn you that $10,000 a month or more. I actually have some videos that I've posted before on like the top 5 businesses. I'll leave some links below in the description box to those. You want to be looking at businesses such as social media marketing, could be copywriting or writing services, Google ads or Facebook ad services, or even things like online coaching. You want to stick to what I consider to be the 3 most important pillars of high value for people, which is health, wealth, and relationships. Now this brings us to the second crucial thing, which is playing the long game. One of the biggest things that separates the ultra successful from the rest is how they play the game of time. The longer the time horizon, the easier it is to hit your goals. Let's use an investing example. If you are 20 years old and you invest $400 a month into an index fund that earns 10% per year, it would take you until 51, or in other words, 31 years to hit $1 million. But let's say that you wait just 10 years to get started, but you still want to hit $1 million by the age of 51 to catch up with your friend. You would have to invest $1,200 a month in order to hit that $1 million by 51. That is 3 times the amount as the person starting 10 years earlier. I once read a book called The Top 10 Distinctions Between the Millionaires and the Middle Class. And in that book, one of those major distinctions was how people look at time. In the book, it broke down very poor people all the way to very rich people. It stated that very poor people tend to think or operate on a day-to-day basis. Okay, well, I made $100 today, I have $100 that I can spend. Poor people tend to think week to week, so they think in terms of how much money they made that week and how much they are going to spend that week. Middle-class people tend to think month to month, and so you'll hear a lot of them talk about how they make $4,000 a month. Here's my monthly expenses. The rich people think year to year. So you start hearing questions like, what could I do this year to add $10,000 to my income? Now, the ultra rich or the very rich, think decade to decade. What could I start today where 10, 20, or even 30 years down the road would completely change my life? The biggest difference in your ability to hit this 10K month or more is going to be your ability to think longer down the road. When you start asking questions like, what could I create, build, or do today that will completely change my life in about 10 to 20 years, you will have a much greater likelihood of achieving it. The reason that most people don't hit their financial goals isn't because they lack the talent or the ability to do so. It's because they are so short-term focused and they are so consumed with how to make as much money in such little time as possible that they'll do all this work and realize that they don't hit their goal right away and they get really discouraged and end up quitting. Comparing yourself to other people is the fastest way to not achieving your goals. And it's hard with social media because so many people are posting about how much money they make or how they build a business in a month and are already making $100,000 a year. And while there are people like that that do exist, that's not the norm. And most people, it takes a little bit of time and effort. If you have a longer time horizon and you really focus on building something great over the next 10, 20 years, you have a much better likelihood of hitting your goals. So this brings us to the third component, which is focusing on progress over results. Making $10,000 a month is absolutely incredible, but even better than hitting the goal of making $10,000 a month is actually maintaining it and building upon it. What good is achieving $10,000 a month if you only hit it once and can never achieve it again? When I first started my own financial journey, I had all kinds of really big goals and dreams, and I wasn't afraid to work really hard to get there. The problem was, though, is that I would start doing all this action, being really inspired and just going all in on something. And after a few weeks or a few months, I would look up and realize that I was still ridiculously far away from my goals. This would cause me to be really demotivated, thinking, how am I ever going to be able to keep this pace or ever achieve the goals that I have? It wasn't until I started prioritizing progress over actually getting the result that I actually began achieving the results that I wanted. If you just improve by 1% every single day, you will have a 37 times result in the course of 1 year. One of the things I started doing that completely changed the game for me was once I identified a goal that I really wanted, let's say making $10,000 a month, I then broke it down into what are the traits, characteristics, and qualities of a person that would actually achieve that kind of a goal. Vision, communication, consistency, providing lots of value for other people. Once I identified those, I started asking myself, what is one thing I could do today to improve by 1% in these areas? What I realized was that I don't have to worry about whether I'm going to achieve that goal or not, because the better I get at the traits and the qualities, the money is just going to be a byproduct of my growth in those traits, qualities, and characteristics. Now this brings us to the fourth step, which is to avoid lifestyle creep. So one of the biggest mistakes I see people make when they hit that first financial goal is they start increasing their overall lifestyle. Talk to people who will tell me, hey, I started this business or I got in this industry and I started making multiple six figures and I started living large, and then the industry turned or the market changed and now all of a sudden I'm back to being broke again. Now that you have that $10,000 a month, we want to continue to live as cheaply as possible and take all that extra cash flow and begin investing it into cash flow producing assets, or at least assets in general, to have your money start working for you instead of you always working for your money. Real estate, index funds, dividends, things that will pay us income every single month or will help our portfolio grow. This is essentially going to be a buffer for you when times get really slow. Once you start getting that passive income coming in, then you can take a portion of that passive income and begin increasing your lifestyle accordingly. A while back, my 2002 beat up Jetta finally caved in and went completely out on me. And I had this really beautiful Lexus on my vision board. Now, one of the options I could have done was taken $50,000 that it cost, went to the car dealership and paid cash. However, what I did was, instead of spending my working capital on a depreciating asset, I took $50,000 and I put it down on a 3-unit apartment in Ohio. As I bought this property way under value, I added about $5,000 into fix-ups and renovations. And once I got the property rented out, I went to the bank, I refinanced all of my money out, plus a little bit of profit, tax-free, in addition to cash flow netting over $1,000 a month. Now that $1,000 a month paid for my car payment, so not only was I able to get the luxury car, but I was also able to keep an additional $500 a month in income. And this is how you systematically increase your overall lifestyle and still maintain and continue to build upon all the work and effort that you've done. If this video gave you some value, please be sure to smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, little notification bell. And if you haven't done so already, be sure to check out some of my other videos. I'll have links below in the description box. Let's get out there and let's build that dream.